Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Mess. So, I got a fun and exciting video for you guys today, and one that basically 75% of you requested in the Dolphin Triforce Emulation Update video. This is an emulation tutorial for Dolphin, so you can get Triforce arcade games running on your PC. But I do want to caveat this tutorial with a very bold statement. This is the first draft of the actual Triforce emulation fork being folded into the Dolphin emulator. That means it is not going to be perfect. You might run up to some bugs, you might run up to some crashes, but the basic process of how to actually get this working will always remain consistent in the future. I just want you to go in understanding that this is basically the first draft of the actual Triforce emulation fork being incorporated into Dolphin, so your results may vary. But otherwise, we're going to go through all of the different setup tutorials to get you playing every single game as far as Triforce is concerned that is currently compatible with the Dolphin emulator. Do be aware that there's one game that requires a touchscreen that is not going to be functioning as of right now. Before we get too much further involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. And just so you know, this tutorial is made in a linear fashion for you to watch from start to finish. If you skip around, you're going to miss an important part of it, and I don't want you to do that, so just please don't leave me the comment down below asking why I didn't explain something, just for me to give you the timestamp of exactly when I do explain it, because trust me, it always happens. Now the first thing you need to do is grab the most recent nightly build of Dolphin, right now 2512-395. Go ahead and grab that for whatever operating system you want. This is a Windows tutorial, and Dolphin unpacks it, doesn't install, so you can kind of put it wherever you want. For me, I'm doing this as a demonstration version because I already had it running, but you can literally put this anywhere you would like. So after you unpack it, my number one recommendation is we're going to make a new folder for the Triforce games that you definitely legally own to live in. I have basically all of the games in my closet, and I'm just going to call it Triso, or Triso, for the kind of pun intended thing there. And just so you know, you want to be using ISO formatted files for this. They are going to be what works the best here. And as far as where you're finding those, that is a totally you problem. Please do not ask me. I'm just here to teach you how to use Dolphin emulation for the Triforce games that you have in your closet. So once we move over all of the different games, including one that's going to trip you up that does not work, it has never been intended to work, we see here that everything is an ISO. These are the games that are going to currently work as far as Triforce emulation is concerned, so you'll see that we have all of them listed there. There might be different revisions, there might be different versions, but these are the ones I'm going with for the tutorial. That way you know what works and what doesn't work. So from here we're going to need one more file if we actually want to access the test menu, which is going to be crucially important for Triforce games. If you go into your documents in Dolphin Emulator, you will see a Triforce folder, and you'll see I have segaboot.gcm in here right now. I've already added this to show you, but what I'll do is rename it so that it does not work whatsoever. That way when I go back into Dolphin, we will get the error message you would see if you haven't yet added this file. This is crucial. If you don't add it, you're going to have a very bad time. And you'll know if you don't actually have this file included, because when you try to run any Triforce game, you're going to get a failed to open segaboot.gcm error message, including the folder in which it is looking for. It'll always be in documents. So as far as this file is concerned, you see triforce_bootrom.bin. You are going to rename that to the file that you just saw in the previous screen, but I will put up a big piece of text here just so you can read that, but it's segaboot.gcm. That is what you're putting in the documents folder for the Dolphin emulator, and this will allow you to actually load up the test menu, which not only allows you to change game settings, but also to bypass some errors that you're going to see come up. So put it in Documents, Dolphin Emulator Triforce, segaboot.gcm. So long as you have that, we are basically ready to start trying to play some games. Now when we do have that file, I can go ahead and double click Mario Kart GP. What you're going to see, and this has been tripping people up even in the reveal video when this was incorporated into mainline Dolphin, you get a camera error, and you have to actually hit the test button right now to bypass it. But by default, that is not actually mapped in this most recent version of Dolphin. You'll see here I'm forcing 16:9, and I have Vulkan on with some enhancements just in case you're curious how I'm playing it. What you need to do is go over to the Triforce tab, and you will see an option to configure controllers. By default, it's going to have the AM baseboard set for you, but you will see here in the Triforce menu, you will have to bind something to test as well as service and coin. They are not bound by default. I'm not sure why, but that is just how it's currently working. So when you see the error, go ahead and press the test button, whatever you determined it, and then press the A button, and suddenly this is exactly what's going to be happening for you. That was kind of my sneaky way to get a soundtrack sample in, but when you load up Mario Kart GP or GP2, it's going to ask, do you have a Mario card? And the first time you play it, you want to say no, and then you want to say yes when it asks you to make a Mario card. That way Dolphin is basically going to initialize this card so you have save game ability, because Mario Kart GP and GP2 were always intended to come back and play them over and over again in arcades. So you need to create that card, that way when you play again, so long as you've actually saved in the game and completed something, you just can't quit the emulation mid-race, you'll be able to go ahead and pick up exactly where you left off. And if you're like me and you want that card to have some sort of fun name, go ahead and name it whatever you want here. Just be aware that when we bound the test and actual service and coin buttons, that's also where you'll bind your controller inputs. By default, whatever controller you have plugged in, Dolphin will automatically map it to what it thinks is the best, and I would agree that's definitely how it should be done. But if you want to play around in there, I don't know what controller you have, so that is going to be up to you. But once you do all that and you hit the test menu button, when you actually get the camera error, you'll be in either Mario Kart GP game. I've gotten so many different comments about that camera error, it trips everyone up. There's supposed to be a webcam that takes a photo of your face and puts it in a game, but at this point in time that is not yet enabled in Dolphin, so you're always going to be getting that error. Hopefully soon, and I know they said it's on the roadmap, you actually could use your webcam to put your face in there if you want. But it's not just Mario Kart Arcade GP and GP2 that have these little weird things that you need to worry about. There's tons of other games out there. Like when you load up F-Zero AX, you're going to get an error message that says insert the cleaning card. It thinks that the actual card distribution slot in the cabinet is dirty and needs to be cleaned, a physical object. All you need to do to bypass that, at least to work for me, is go into the test menu and go ahead and hit exit. That should jump you right into the game, and then you should be playing F-Zero AX. This is why some of these things can be complicated, because we're emulating arcade hardware here, and that arcade hardware is doing exactly what it should in emulation that it would in a real-world scenario. It is trying to communicate with a card dispenser, and because it's having a problem to communicating, because it doesn't exist in emulation, you get a dirty card error and it wants you to clean it. And if you see searching Psycraft, that means you pick the monster version of F-Zero AX, which does not actually work in emulation. Let's move into our second soundtrack sample and our next game demo. But actually I have a little bit of an addendum, because I realized that different revisions of F-Zero AX will actually exhibit different behaviors when you hit exit. If you have a version that keeps giving you the card cleaning error, go ahead into the game test menu and turn magnetic card RWUs to off. Go ahead and then go down to exit and exit the actual game assignment menu. You can also change the difficulty there, and then go ahead and exit the F-Zero AX test menu back to the actual Triforce test menu. From there, when you hit exit, if everything works correctly, you will go right into the Triforce boot screen, and then you will get the motor calibration screen that should just disappear. Now here comes that soundtrack sample that I promised you though. Virtual Striker 4 is a ton of fun, but it's going to absolutely fail on you when you try to load it up, because you're going to get an error message about it not being the right I/O board and it needing to be upgraded. That is because this is the one and only game on the Triforce side of things, as far as the hardware is concerned, that's going to use its own individualized file to actually be able to play. So you'll see here in the BIOS folder, you'll see exactly where it wants to be. It needs to be in sys/gc Triforce firm version 3.12 type 3 only.bin. I will leave that in text description in the description below. You'll have to add that game in yourself. And as far as the baseball game with the Japanese pronunciation, I'm going to absolutely bangle. That should just work exactly how you want it to. So I just want you to understand, one, Triforce Emulation in mainline Dolphin is still new, and because it is arcade based, it's going to trip a lot of people up, because not everyone spends all of their spare time playing around with arcade hardware and emulating arcade games like your fool video game esoteric himself does. So if you do get tripped up, leave me a comment down below and I'll do my best to help you. But if you need specialized support, don't forget in Patreon I have the Emulation Night School tier, where you basically get direct chat access for me. But honestly, if you pay attention to the tutorial, you should be perfectly fine, and you shouldn't have any issues whatsoever. And again, remember, these are arcade games, these are not home console games, so you'll have to go into the test menus and go to game assignment to change anything like the difficulty. If you want to recalibrate the analog controls in something like any of the racing games, you want to change around those settings, you have to go into the test menu. And again, this is still just the first draft of Triforce Emulation in mainline Dolphin, so I am sure things will get better. Expect bugs, expect glitches, expect games to crash, expect buttons to just absolutely throw up errors every once in a while because it's tripping up on its own emulation. But I'm sure in 6 months or a year that won't be the case, and this setup guide will still be relevant because it's going to be done the same way. So go ahead and pay attention, watch it over again if you skipped because I told you not to, but if you follow the directions in this tutorial, you'll be able to use the Dolphin Emulator for a Triforce Emulation guide or Triforce Emulation tutorial. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.